Grow is the story of Josh. Josh, a few years before the book begins, Josh's father is tragically killed in a terrorist bombing, and Josh is struggling with that grief, and has been for 2 years without really letting on. He seems to be coping, I suppose. But then Josh gets targeted by a white supremacist group, a far-right group, and the book explores the forces that are working on Josh, and whether he'll get sucked into that toxic ideology and kind of allow that to kind of take over his life and kind of manifest his anger, I suppose, or whether Josh can find the strength to resist that and find something else to fill that space inside him. The idea for Grow came to me about 6 years or so ago. I was sitting in a training session for the Prevent strategy. I'm a teacher, so we kind of do this, we recap this stuff every year. And Prevent obviously is the government's anti-radicalisation programme. I'd come from a kind of relatively kind of urban school before I started at the other one I was at, and kind of had taught children from various different backgrounds. And kind of different ethnic identities and things like that. But the room I was in was, it was a very white, very British room in what was almost exclusively a white school. And the feeling was very much that this stuff didn't really have any relevance here. The Prevent training at the time was very much geared towards kind of Muslim students being radicalised, and the feeling was that it didn't have any bearing on us. However, the last case study was about a boy in a similar situation to the one that we were all sitting in, who had recently been convicted of planning a terrorist attack against his local mosque. And the kind of idea of far-right radicalisation kind of ran through the room. And kind of suddenly, people kind of sat up and started taking notes, kind of taking an interest, I suppose. I'd also, around the time, I'd been having various conversations with various different students, all of them kind of bright, engaged young men, mostly young boys, who were getting kind of caught up in, at the time, what was the mainstream kind of media's angry scapegoating, finger pointing around immigration, kind of lots that have to do with national identity and Britishness and kind of us, them kind of rhetoric and that kind of stuff. And the two things just kind of connected, I suppose. And so what I wanted to do with Grow was explore kind of how far these kind of thoughts might go, how toxic they could become if the person thinking them, I suppose, had reason to be thinking those things. I had lots of people in mind as I was writing the book, really. Josh himself is an amalgamation of dozens and dozens of young people I've taught and worked with over my 15 years in teaching so far. And I think first and foremost I wanted to write a book that they'd like, that they could identify with, that they'd pick up and understand, I suppose. I'm very much at the sharp end of getting boys of Josh's age to read, and I kind of wanted this to be a book they connect with, and something they could see themselves reading if they could see themselves in it, I suppose. In the early stages of writing this book and talking to some old school friends, I heard that another classmate of mine from school had gone off and joined Combat 18, the neo-Nazi group, not long after we all left school at 18. And we weren't that dissimilar, this young man and me. So I guess I was kind of writing for me at that age as well, and friends of mine that were that age as well, just to kind of try to plug into what they were feeling, what they were thinking, and try to kind of identify with that.